Hi again, it's Natasha and Co. It's still Friday night, but it's the 18th of July now, 20 past midnight. I just read one of the African tales from Harold Schwab, but I'm gonna introduce a new book of African folk tales into the rotation because I want to hear some that are a bit more traditional to me. Yeah. So the other one is African stories all over the world. This one, it just the format of these ones is more familiar to me. So it's called Wooden Gongs and Drum Beats, African Folk Tales, Proverbs and Idioms by Dahi Chris Onachukwu, published by Adonis and Abbey Publishers in 2003. The dedication page reads, Dedication in loving memory of my late parents, Easy Ize Sir James Ekaledo Onukwe, the Oba II of Obakala, and Ogoise Lady Selina Chintura Onukwe, the Ogoise I of Obakala, also for Louis Chukwuebuka and Ihoma Onukwe. You make the struggle all worth it. Brilliant. So, this one has lots of stories and proverbs. So I'll go to the first one. Part one are the folk tales, separated into how and why stories. First one, why the tortoise has a rough shell. Once upon a time, there was a severe famine in the land of the animals. All the rivers had dried up. The trees had shed all their leaves. The leaves had all dried up and were being blown around by the dry harmattan wind. All the animals were starving. The antelope, the deer, and even the great elephant and other herbivorous animals were all walking around, very hungry and looking very lean. The lion, the tiger, the leopard, the puma, the cheetah, and all the carnivorous animals did not even have the strength to hunt. The tortoise was having the worst time, as he could not move fast enough to get to the nuts and grasses before the other animals. He continued begging for food from the other animals, but no one paid him any heed, as they all were hungry and had barely enough to eat. Though all the animals were starving, the birds were looking well and obviously feeding well. Every day, while the animals were gnashing their teeth and scratching their heads on how to find something to eat, the birds would be chirping happily and singing melodiously from the tree branches. They flew about merrily and sometimes noisily. Everyone wondered how the birds managed to be so well fed and happy. The sly tortoise could no longer bear this, so one day he approached the dove, which held him in high esteem as a wise philosopher. "Mr. Dear Dove," he greeted. "Good afternoon, uncle. How are you?" the dove replied. "Aha! How can you ask me how I am, when you can see that your old uncle is dying slowly? Sweet dove, you are always such a kindly and gentle bird. I cannot imagine that you could have the heart to watch callously while I die of hunger. If I die, my blood will be on your conscience, I assure you," the sweet-tongued tortoise said. "But I have no food," defended the dove, who was no match to the witty tortoise. "Ha! If you have no food, how come you are looking so fat and chubby?" The simple dove flew down from the top branch she was perching and came near to the tortoise. "Sorry, uncle, that you have suffered so much. You see, we birds have our spirit king living up in the sky. So every day we fly up there to feast. We eat heavily and drink enough to last us up to the next day." "Aha, dear sweet dove, can't you take me up with you while attending this feast? I promise to be in my best behaviour." "Sorry, sir, but it is not my decision to make. You will have to speak to the other birds too." "I will speak to them. Ahem, dearest sweet dove, could you please put in a good word for me?" "I will do that, uncle. I will try my best for you." The tortoise later spoke to the other birds, the eagle, the king of the birds, the wise owl, the hawk, the kite, the wren, the nightingale, and the others. He spoke so convincingly and earnestly that the birds agreed to help him, but on the condition that he behaved himself, as the tortoise was notoriously mischievous. He swore by his dead father's grave that he would be in his best behaviour. The following day, when the birds were to go for their feast, they decided to take the tortoise with them. The eagle asked each bird to contribute a feather for the tortoise. Each bird gave the tortoise a feather. They used the gummy sap of the pear tree to stick it to the tortoise's body so that he could fly with them to the sky. The tortoise practiced flying for a few days. He was very excited and clapped his hands happily. He thanked the birds for their kind gesture. On the day they were to fly with the tortoise, the king announced that every bird should converge at the square by sunset, so that they would all go together as they normally did. As they were about to disperse, the wily old tortoise said that he had a suggestion to make. Why don't we all take up some fanciful names that we could answer up there in the sky? It will add class, glamour, and excitement to these feasts. The wise owl blinked and asked the tortoise why he thought the mere adoption of new names would give the party extra grandeur. Aha, began the imaginative tortoise. Imagine calling each other names like Flying Beauty or the Wonderful Wise One or the Flowers of the Air. The peoples of the sky will be very impressed. The peoples of the sky will be very much impressed by our creativity. The other gullible birds were caught by this introduction. They were simple, impressionable birds. Immediately they started choosing flamboyant names like Morning Wonder, the beautiful guest of the sky, and the like. The eagle was not interested. He just shrugged and flew away. If it made his subjects happy, then no problem, he said. The suspicious owl asked the tortoise what name he was going to choose, and he replied, All of you. The owl frowned at such an uncommon and unfunny name, but could not find any fault with it, so he too scratched his head and flew away. By sunset, the birds congregated at their normal meeting point, their air vibrating with exciting shouts of their newly adopted names. The tortoise was the first to arrive. In fact, he did not leave from there after the meeting. He had simply found a corner at the venue of the meeting, withdrew into his shell, and slept under some dry leaves till the birds reconvened. A little after the scheduled time, the eagle arrived and they were ready to leave. The eagle flew ahead and the others followed. The birds circled the tortoise as they flew in order to give him extra support. They finally arrived at the palace in the sky and were heartily welcomed. After they had rested, the entertainment began. The hosts, as tradition demanded, first served cola nuts. After the blessing of the cola nuts, the tortoise asked one of the hosts, Excuse me, sir, but please, who are these fine big cola nuts for? Aha, my friend, it is for all of you, of course, the chief host replied. Ah, thank you, kind sir. The tortoise descended on the cola nuts and ate them all alone because the cola nuts were for all of you, which was his chosen name for the trip. Next, the hosts in the sky brought different kinds of delicious fruits. Ah, kind of you all, sirs, the tortoise grovelled, and quickly asked in pretended innocence, But please, who are all these for? It is for all of you, of course. Again, the tortoise descended on the fruits alone, since the birds understood it as being meant only for the tortoise, whose name for the trip was all of you. After this, different kinds of sumptuous meals were served, and each again was said to be for all of you, which again meant the tortoise alone, or so he made the birds believe. There were more fresh palm wine and other drinks, which were again given to all of you. By now, the birds were all fed up with the tortoise's nonsense. The eagle was so furious that he quickly told the other birds they were returning home to earth immediately. He gave strict orders that any bird that had donated any feather to the tortoise should ask the tortoise to return it immediately. Consequently, all the birds demanded and got back their feathers from the tortoise. The gluttonous and greedy tortoise was trapped and stranded in the sky. He did not know how to get back to earth. The Sky King of the birds had already bidden them farewell and shut his gate. The tortoise called the gullible little dove and asked her if she would be so mean as to leave him stranded and alone in the cold outdoors of the sky. The dove was embarrassed. She explained to the tortoise that she could not help him because the eagle had spoken against him. The other birds, meanwhile, were all taking off angrily, mad at how the tortoise had used them. The dove was eager to fly off too, not especially happy to be seen discussing with the tortoise, given what he had done. Many birds shouted at the dove, asking her to leave the wicked tortoise there, so that he would die of cold. Desperately, the tortoise cried out to the dove as she was about to fly off with the wren. The kind-hearted dove waited, pleading with the wren to wait a while so she could find out what the old but ungrateful tortoise wanted. The tortoise then pleaded with the dove to tell his wife, Annie, to bring out all the soft materials like the mattresses, pillows, clothing, and such things in their house. The dove wanted to know the reason for such a strange message, but the desperate tortoise asked her just to relay his request to his wife. The dove agreed and took off with the wren. The wren demanded to know what the tortoise wanted from the dove. The dove told her the tortoise's odd request. The clever wren immediately understood why the tortoise made that request and decided to teach him a lesson. He told the dove not to bother himself, that he would deliver the tortoise's message to his wife. The dove was grateful as she had another important appointment to keep on getting home. The wren flew directly to the tortoise's house and told Annie that her husband had asked that she should bring outside all the sharp and hard implements in the house. Annie was puzzled by such an odd request, but did it nonetheless. She brought out all their hoes, knives, pots, pans, grinding stone, and every other hard object in the house. The tortoise from the sky saw his wife bringing out things, but the distance was so much that he could not see exactly the objects she was bringing out. Aiming at the things in front of his house, he took a dive from the sky. When he landed, it was a big crash. The tortoise's shell shattered and scattered all over the place. The tortoise's wife, on hearing the loud bang and her husband's scream, rushed out and, seeing what had happened, began to shout for help. Luckily, there were some soldier ants within the vicinity. They responded to the distress call with speed. They quickly gathered all the scattered pieces of the tortoise's shell and cleverly and masterfully pieced them together. But it could not be as smooth as it used to be. This explains the roughness of the tortoise's shell. Excellent. Thanks for listening.